Whoa, it is like we opened up the floodgates. Hey, everybody, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
I wish we had some beautiful elevator or fun background music next time.
Oh, yeah, elevator music. Can you play music? I guess you would
You
have.
can.
Yeah.
Hold on.
There's a way to do it.
There you go.
That is totally elevator music.
Perfect.
All right, we've got everybody in from the waiting room, just so you guys are aware. We'll give maybe a minute more, let you guys do housekeeping.
Right.
Hey, and I see some faces. Please feel free to turn your cameras on if you want. Oh, this is Christmas elevator music too.
It may be. Gotta go into the season.
I've been listening to Christmas music today.
I barely started my Christmas shopping. A little nervous.
We haven't
get on
started yet either.
Well, considering you just got married and moved and
True.
got enough on your plate.
All right. Y'all just let me know when you want the music stopped, rather.
All right. I think we are good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us today. I recognize a couple of names from our previous event and some interviews conducted. The content will be similar to what we did 2 weeks ago. However, we're going to go into a deeper dive into some of the specific career tracks and really highlight some technologies that they use and some resources that you can start doing now to see which career path is right for you. A few housekeeping items, very typical for 2020. Please keep your mic on mute. I believe you have all been muted when you joined. We will record the session for training purposes, and we'll send out the slide deck to all attendees after the event. We do want the event to be interactive. So please, please, please ask questions as we go. We'll either address them within the conversation, or we will have some time at the end to go through official Q&A. And you can send those comments if you'd like, or in the chat directly to Katie with ACDS, one of our fantastic recruiters. Hi, Katie, and thank you for being our fantastic question moderator. Or you're welcome just to add your question in the group chat for everyone to see. Either way, whatever works best for you. Kind of the plan or agenda for today, we're going to share with you who is ACDS, what does that acronym mean, what is this ReSkill Arkansas program that I've signed up for. Again, deep dive into career paths and then close out with questions. So jumping into a little bit of today's facilitators, my name is Ashley French. I am Director of Talent Acquisition with ACDS, which is Arkansas Center for Data Sciences. I also have with us Kristen Moore. She is spearheading the recruiting and program of ReSkill Arkansas and is a great technical recruiter that we have on our team. ACDS, we are a nonprofit. We were established a little over a year ago, really from a charge by our governor, who has a very big focus and initiative on STEM education and growing the IT careers in Arkansas.
Hey, Ashley, STEM. What does STEM mean?
Why is that? So STEM?
Science, technology, engineering,
science,
and math. Just wanted to be sure everybody knew what we were talking about.
So anything that kind of falls within IT occupations or, those type of tracks kind of come into play when we're talking about STEM or technology careers. So our nonprofit really focuses on a few different areas of programs, ReSkill Arkansas being one of them. At the end of the day, our mission is pretty simple. we want to retain and grow IT jobs to the great state of Arkansas. In addition to increasing the technical skills and abilities of Arkansans like yourself. We are super excited to share the knowledge that we have in hopes that it helps kickstart your IT career paths or enhance your technical skills and abilities that you add to the great employers of Arkansas. So ReSkill Arkansas. This program is a partnership between the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services and our friends at the Office of Skills Development. We have partnered to, really help with the ultimate goal to offer you resources and tools to help you land a job within IT. With, again, the focus really being increasing those technical skills and abilities and really just overall exposure to what is IT. Many of you are at different stages of this process document or a process infographic that is on this slide. Anyone that is here has already completed step 1, which is our online application. Yay. Step 2 is take our assessment. The majority of you, I recognize your names, you've already checked that box as well, but for individuals that still have not completed that, it's nothing to be nervous on. Nothing you have to study for. You do not have to have any previous IT fundamentals knowledge. It's really just kind of a generic aptitude assessment, just to get a baseline of kind of where you're at from a critical thinking standpoint. So think problem solving skills. There is, I think, just 2 questions on Microsoft Excel. But fear not, you can use a calculator. So we do give you that avenue to assist in any type of math calculations. And luckily, even though it is best compatible or kind of the best user experiences on a desktop, but you can also take it from your mobile device. Kind of step 3 and 4 may vary in order, but essentially, the next step would be you will receive access to free training from our Ed2Go, which is part of the University of Arkansas Workforce Services. And it will have a great detailed information on kind of which trainings might be a great start for you. Kristen is also going to kind of highlight those specific trainings as we talk about each IT occupation. From that point, we'll kind of transition into Kristen or I will reach out to you to do kind of a one-on-one phone interview. We take a very open feedback, collaborative approach on, really on a one-on-one basis, seeing what tools you need for success, how we can give you feedback and strengthen your interview skills and even resume tips to help in your job search. Depending on the kind of where you're at in your IT career path, kind of the next step is getting your resume out there. Now, this step is very much a partnership between, we're going to help share your resume with the employer partners that we have within our network, in addition to you applying directly to employers out on their individual career sites. I think we all know today's job market, companies are really flooded with a lot of great candidates. So, it is very competitive. We want to give you the right tools and success to where your resume stands out, that you're applying to the right positions that are within your area of interest. Sometimes I call us, we want to be your career advisor, your cheerleader, your advocate, rooting in the background to help you land that job. And next up, we're going to kind of transition into Kristen Moore, that is going to do a deeper dive in some of the common IT career tracks.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. I want to start off and just kind of introduce myself. I think I've met a couple of people on the phone, so you probably haven't seen my face, but it's nice to see some faces today. So I am Kristen Moore Shryock, just got married, so you may see a couple of different names. I'm still getting used to it myself. And I have spent, I guess, the last about 7.5 years in the corporate IT world. Never thought I would be an IT person. I always knew I liked numbers. From high school math classes, I really liked numbers and was a math major. I wish that I knew more about IT when I was declaring a major, because maybe I would have gone straight into IT and not kind of backdoor gotten into it. But was a math major and was very fortunate to get on with a pretty large company that really invested in training. And that's part of what I love so much about our mission and what we get to do at ACDS is a lot of our team is partnering with employers across the state to help build these apprenticeship programs, because a lot of people, I would say almost most people, don't know everything they're going to need to know day one to start their job. And so that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. What can you start to learn now to try to help you get on the right potential IT path that you want to be on? IT is a big area. There's a lot of things that are considered IT. Some people consider some things IT and some people don't consider them IT. So we're going to talk about some of the kind of common entry-level IT paths, because we know that's where we all kind of are in our career, looking for something different, something new. And IT is a wonderful field to get in. As someone who went from not knowing anything about IT, I could turn a computer on and type up some documents, but did not know about programming, was able to learn really in a couple of months on the job a lot of cool programming languages. I was a programmer for about 4 years. So we're going to start off talking about programming, because that's probably what I know the most about, since I did that myself. And then I realized I liked people a lot more, sometimes more than computers. Sometimes you like computers more, depending on the day. But ended up kind of going into the IT management and recruiting and training area. So got to teach a lot of programming after literally not knowing any of it when I started about 4 years ahead of time. So I'm here to tell you guys, I know where you're sitting. Getting into IT was super scary for me. The guy that I sat next to on my very first day of work had his master's in computer science, and I felt like we were speaking completely different languages. So my goal today is to speak English, not speak too much crazy IT. I always like to say I'm going to use my English words, and then maybe later, as you continue training, we can talk more technical words. So buckle up. We're kind of going to start off with just, like I said, one of these IT career paths, and talk a little bit about what a programmer, what a developer does, give you some resources, and then go through some more. So type up questions as we go, and we'll get started. So one of the, I think, kind of most common things that people think about when they think about IT people or a career in IT is a developer or a programmer. Sometimes I've actually discovered people may not even consider this IT. They kind of consider like hardware and working on computers IT, and they consider programmers or developers computer science. But a lot of companies, this is also in their IT department. So first, let's talk about what these people would do. They're developing things, they're programming things, they are speaking computer code. So there are a ton of different computer languages. A lot of times you are working individually to create brand new applications. It may be something that doesn't exist yet, and you kind of get to work from the bottom up, which is sometimes easier because you know what you're doing, you know kind of everything from the beginning. But I'm going to be honest, most times, especially if you were kind of working for a larger company that's kind of been established, the code is already there, right? The systems already exist. You may just be going in and making changes. So sometimes the hardest part about a programming job is that you don't just have to know how your brain works or how your brain would solve a problem, but now you kind of have to think about, well, how would Ashley have solved this? How did she do this? And now I have to understand the way she was thinking and be able to do what I need to do, even though her code is already here. So sometimes that was the biggest challenge for me. I can think in circles pretty easy. And so I have to kind of talk out loud with somebody else to make sure I don't code a circle. But these guys, these gals, whoever may be a programmer, may be writing a lot of different types of code. We kind of separate the front end languages. So if you're looking at a website, that would kind of be the front end. These are languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP. You guys may have heard of some of these. If you've ever like accidentally pushed F12 in Google Chrome, you may have seen some of that code pop up. I have done that many times myself. Then we have kind of the back-end languages. And these are things like Java, C++, C#, C. A lot of those languages you may have heard of before. That's kind of where the logic of the program actually lives. What does this system really doing? Kind of the does it work or not? Which is more of where my brain tends to live, as opposed to the front end, which is a little bit more of what does this look like, and does it look like something the user would want? And then we also have the database side. We'll get a little bit more into the data analyst track later, but a lot of times what you're doing, I mean, even if you just go to Google, right, and you type something in to search, if you typed in Christmas Secret Santa gifts, because I've got a couple of those I need to buy. So the front end would take in that search, the Christmas Secret Santa gifts, and then the back end would actually take that text and go and query Google's really big database. So that's kind of how the two actually work together. These guys are doing a lot of research. I don't know about you guys, I don't ever do anything perfect the first time. So when we're writing code, usually that's kind of the same thing. So there are things called bugs that pop up a lot of times when you're writing code. And that's totally a normal thing. Hopefully, if it was a big thing, it was caught in testing. But a lot of times little things still kind of make it. Secretly, it's kind of fun to me whenever I'm on like a big company website and I find a bug, I get kind of excited about it because somebody there missed it. But that's a lot of what programmers do. Somebody may say, hey, I was out using this function and I found something that was not working like it was supposed to. So you may be going in and fixing some things that are broken. And then the other big piece is that a lot of times there's integrations. So let's think, I kind of came from the retail world, so I'll use that as an example. If you went to Best Buy or Walmart or Target, wherever you Black Friday shopped, hopefully you didn't have to wait in too long of a line. When you swiped your card, there were a lot of different systems that had to talk. The financial systems, we had to make sure there was money in your account. They had to give that money to the retailer that you were at. They had to decrease the inventory. So that's a couple of different pieces, the inventory, the finance, they had to put that money into their sales numbers. So a lot of times as a programmer, there's a lot of integration that has to happen, which means you got to talk to other people about their systems. Maybe, and hopefully a lot of those people work for the same company that you do. That makes it a lot easier. But maybe it's a third party. A lot of times you kind of have to, your system may have to talk to another third party. For example, financial institutions, right? If you swipe a credit card, you got to talk to the bank and everything kind of has to work back and forth. Sometimes that can be one of the hardest parts because you don't have the control. But anyway, those are some of the things that programmers or developers may do. So let's talk about how you may know if this is the right thing for you. You may be kind of listening to that and some of that makes sense, but came up with kind of some fun things. If you enjoy these things, then programming or developing may be a fun career path for you. Logic puzzles. Sudoku, math classes, anything super logic, especially if you're doing it in your free time on your cell phone. I used to love those logic puzzles, and I talked to a couple of people I know, some phone interviews, who told me the same thing. So when you can geek out with people like that, you may be a programmer. This one I kind of added on there for my parents growing up. I was a very argumentative child, and I like to say that it was because I'm just a very logical person and I made a great programmer one day. So if you're one of those people who picks apart arguments and finds flaws in people's logic, programming may be for you. If you always ask why, not maybe like your toddler always asks why just to be funny, but if you're always asking why something does what it does or how does that work and you want to understand more, That's what programmers do. They actually build the how. Once again, the computer is very, very literal, guys. It does exactly what you tell it to do. So if you are a super detail-oriented person, like proofread things 7 times before you push send on an email, or whatever you may be posting on your Facebook posts. If you are a super detail-oriented person, programming may be for you. If you just like a computer, if you don't mind sitting in front of a screen, a lot of times in work, some people need to get up and talk to people. If you are more of an extrovert and you have to have some people interaction, you may not like sitting behind the computer for a good portion of your day. But if you have a wall of computers and you love moving all your different screens and having something over here and something over here and just being engrossed, I just got myself a super cool new monitor on Black Friday that I'm geeking out about. So if you love the computer, that's definitely where you would be if you were a programmer. So kind of getting into some of the front end languages. I know I've seen some resumes come across from people who have some graphic design experience or creative experience. This is a cool place for you if you have that kind of brain. If you guys have probably noticed Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they don't have user manuals, right? Most things don't come with user manuals anymore. The user experience is just good enough for us to understand and follow if it's written correctly, right? So this user experience, kind of the front end piece of development, may be fun for you if you really like thinking about how a person uses an application. Going a little bit deeper, that graphic design, where should we put the search bar? I kind of expect it to always be in the top right corner. I don't know about y'all. Or where should we put different things on the screen? Psychology of color. If you've ever thought about why every single fast food place has red in their logo, some of that kind of stuff. What colors make the users feel the way that you want them to feel when they're using your application? Do you want them to speed through the checkout process so they don't second guess what they're purchasing? You know, some of that crazy kind of stuff that you never would have thought goes into stuff online. And then the last thing we've got here is that programmers are very task-based. So if you are a to-do list person and you like to get a thing done and kind of cross it off, work task-based, you may enjoy programming. Usually as a programmer, you are given a specific thing to do. So you were told, hey, Katie, go create our login page. Or, hey, Lonnie, go add this modal to this particular screen to allow a customer to select or change their color. So you would be given a task and work until you complete it, and then you would be done. So that's kind of how the workflow happens for programmers. So if you guys identified with anything on that list, programming could be the right thing for you. So here's some things that you may want to start learning and a couple of resources for you. I'm going to jump up to the skills to know section. So I mentioned a few of these languages before. These first ones, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, would be where I would start if I was new to programming and all of this. These are kind of the front end languages. They're not as crazy complicated, so they're a good place to start. They don't build on too much. Java and C++ are some of the next ones to kind of get into. Like I was saying before, this is a little bit more of the logic. Does it work? Yes or no? C#, VB, and .NET, those are going to be kind of your Windows applications, so kind of your desktop applications. Same thing, does this work or not? I was a mainframe programmer, so I had to throw some mainframe stuff in here. Yes, mainframes are still around, everybody, if you want some job security. COBOL and JCL, they're a little bit tougher to find some training on, but those are some languages that are, especially in the next couple of years, going to be hard to find and high in demand. SQL, SQL is one y'all are going to see in a couple of these slides. That stands for Structured Query Language. So that is database, looking up data, which is something I really think almost everybody in IT kind of knows a little bit of and can dabble in. And then the mobile development has become increasingly popular. I'm sure all of us have smartphones and we're on mobile apps all the time. So Ionic is a really cool mobile development framework. And then Swift is Apple's development language as well. So a couple of things to kind of keep your eye out, or maybe Google research, understand a little bit more about. So then let's give you some resources. How about if some of this is sticking to you, where do you start? I'm going to make sure, guys, that when we send this out, these are hyperlinked. They should have been, I don't know, I don't guess you can click on your screen and get those, but we'll make sure when we send it out that you've got the hyperlinks. So the ReSkill course that we have, and some of you I think may already be enrolled, is our Creating Web Pages course. This is the kind of step one. It's these HTML, CSS, JavaScript type languages. Understanding how the internet works, how to make a web page and where all this data comes from and where it goes. And these are some other great online resources. Code Academy is a free website. Once again, that ReSkill course is also free. Don't want to forget that. We want to be sure that startup is super easy for you guys, all online. Yes, say it louder for the people in the back. Actually, it's free. CodePen is kind of cool if you fall on that graphic side and you like to design things. CodePen is kind of a big playground where you can play around and look at what other people have created and take some of their ideas and tweak them and make cool cursors or spinners or whatever logo kind of thing you want to play around with and make. And then Coursera, I think I've heard of a couple of you guys mention that you've been on Coursera already. So they have courses on almost anything you want to look up. So I kind of listed these guys top to bottom the way I would probably start with them. So these skills would be where I would kind of start looking, or you can just Google developer programmer and see what you get, see what sounds good to you.
Kristen, before we move on, we do have a question from Matt.
Okay.
When it comes to the you may enjoy category, he asked, all of these describe me except the graphic design part. How important is that one component?
It is not. Good question, Matt. I kind of put, there's, like I was saying, there's a lot of different types of developers. I kind of grouped everything into one. So Matt, I am not a graphic design person either, which means I would stay away from the front end work and I would lean more towards some of these other things we've got in this may also be called section. We've got the software developer. And that's probably where I would hang out. If you were not a graphic design person, I would probably hang out in that software developer, programmer, application developer kind of position. The UI UX developer, the front end, the web, maybe a little bit more graphic-y design focused. Any other questions? Ashley, anything to add before we move on?
So can you highlight specifically like what would be some of those back end, non-web languages to kind of start with?
Absolutely. That's what we've got on here, the Java and C++, the C#, VB, .NET, really anything except the top row.
Yeah, I see a lot of .NET out in Indeed job postings. So
yes, .NET is a Windows framework. So if you've ever installed a Windows application, had to double click the icon, there's some .NET code probably that was written that runs that. A little bit different from a web application, right? Actually downloading an app is going to be a little bit different behind the scenes than going to a website. So that's something to look into as well as you're kind of looking at some of these languages. All right, guys, I'm going to try not to talk so long on every one of these.
I'm just glad you didn't ask me what .NET stood for.
I don't know what that stands for either. All right. So this is one of my favorites for entry-level IT people. And there's a lot of different things this could be called. So tech support, help desk. I kind of put a high-level category of IT operations on it. We'll look in our may also be called section here. We've got network operations. I know some people are really interested in network, not that. Also called NOC. Desktop support, endpoint services, all these companies call stuff different things, guys. So if you ever kind of go out to Indeed or go out and look at jobs, read the description, because two things that are named totally different could very well be the exact same actual work. So let's see what these people do. They're dealing with hardware and software, really. Could be installing new and upgrading software. You know, everybody in the company, if you've ever worked anywhere and you called your IT guy, they were doing, or girl, they were doing a lot of this stuff, probably for you. Providing different system support. If you needed drivers installed on your computer for the new printer the office got, or for your new monitor, I had to figure that one out yesterday. I missed having an IT guy. I had to do that one myself. Maybe if you're in the network area, establishing and maintaining that network security. If you're working for a large company with multiple offices and one of them loses network connectivity, the network operations people are probably going to be called to get in touch with the telecom companies to figure out what's going on. Is it us? Is it them? Do we need to redo something? A lot of troubleshooting. Disaster recovery plans. Once again, if something goes down, what are we going to do? What's the plan? The trick with operations, I joke, my old boss was a director of IT operations, and I'd always say, hey, what's up? And he'd say, hopefully everything. So that's kind of the goal in operations, is to keep everything up and running. Providing technical assistance, and you'll kind of see in our working style box there, this could be on the phone, could be technical assistance on the phone, or it could be in a help desk where people are coming up to you in person and you kind of get to see their face and hopefully it doesn't have too much of a frown on it. Recording communications, of course, a lot of documentation is usually involved in these type positions, because you need to record for tracking purposes. In ticketing systems, maybe, you know, called in and had this issue and I was able to fix it by doing this, so it's resolved. So you can kind of track the history of different things and whether there's still problems or not. So, so let's jump to the you may enjoy. So how do you know if this is a potential right career for you? Well, do you like building the coolest, most hardcore and compatible computer of all of your friends and bragging about it and spending probably too much money on components? You may enjoy kind of an operations support hardware job. I like to joke, all the people I knew who do this totally geeked out about the compatibility and how much RAM they had and all the internal components of their computer, and that is not me. So if it is you, then this may be a career for you. If you are kind of the IT person in your family, if everybody calls you to help troubleshoot their computer, printer, network, whatever problems, you may be really good starting off in tech support or operations. If you are a person who likes, just for fun, to take things apart and put them back together, the remote, the computer, your car key fob, I don't know, anything big to, or your entire car for that matter, big or small, you may be really good and enjoy this. Just helping others, because really at the core of it, that's kind of what IT is, but specifically IT operations. Sometimes these jobs really kind of wear you down because people are really only coming to you with problems, right? And so you're just fixing problems all day, and that gets exhausting. But if you keep the focus and you focus a lot on, hey, look at all of these things I did for people today. I solved Robin's problem. I solved Patrick's problem, and now they are good to go and don't have to worry about whatever it was. Then this could be something that you really enjoy and wouldn't get beat down by some of the problems that are coming to you all the time. If you geek out about your own home network, I've asked a couple of people about their home networks during some phone calls. If you can tell me exactly how capable your router and modem are, and if you've got multiple access points set up and you've got this many devices configured on it and you've got all your cameras, but you had to do this with it because you had too many cameras in one spot and blah, 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 you may really be good at network operations if you really like to do that stuff in your free time. If you kind of like both hardware and software, or if you can't really pick one, you really like both. So many of operation issues are both, or could be one or the other. Kind of leading into the next thing, really all aspects of IT. If you like all of it, how it all fits together, or you can't pick one yet. Ashley and I were talking the other day, the really cool thing about these types of positions is that you could get any problem. You could get any issue in any area, in the network, in security, in software, in a system issue. And so you kind of get to know about everything. And then you figure out which one you may like more. And then if you decide, oh, I really like the network stuff, I really like the security stuff, then you may know how to guide your career path after that. Problem solving, researching, Google searches. If you're a good researcher, once again, kind of going back to that troubleshooting, this thing's not working, let me Google and figure out what to do with it, or how to fix it. Well, that didn't work. Let me try this thing next. If you like the forums, figuring out why things aren't working and knowing where to go. Sometimes that's the hardest part of troubleshooting. Again, and I think I mentioned earlier, that written verbal communication. You kind of talk a good bit. You're maybe talking on the phone, talking to a customer. A lot of times these are kind of customer support / IT positions. So that communication support piece is important, because you need your users happy. You want the people coming to you leaving feeling good, so they don't come back even meaner next time. And then if you are a night owl, you don't mind working that third shift, if you feel like you do your best to work between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. or whatever, this is also could be a cool position for you because of the schedule, or if you need to work those hours for family or something. So a lot of times, guys, operations don't sleep. Things always need to be up and running. So if you are a person who doesn't like to sleep when other people sleep, maybe you can be helping them solve problems while other people sleep. All right, so I've got a little bit up here on working style, and I kind of forgot on the last one, but really, I just wanted to show that sometimes these positions are home. I know a lot of people talked to me about needing to find work from home jobs, and a lot of times, really, kind of all of these positions are a little bit of both. Some companies are home, especially right now. Some companies are still in the office. Definitely, if that's something that you have a preference or requirement on, would be something I would look for in my job search. Or if you're talking to us, let us know that, and we can keep that on your file, and we'll remember that for your job search and while we're helping you out. All right, so here's some things to know and how to learn them. We've covered a lot of this already, guys. Troubleshooting, right? How to fix problems, how to diagnose it. First thing you got to do is figure out what it is, right? And the second thing you got to do is figure out how to fix it. You got to do it all with a smile on your face, or maybe not if you're on the phone. But troubleshooting is definitely important. In general, just Windows. So making sure you really know Windows well. Maybe you're kind of a keyboard shortcut nerd and you know all the keyboard shortcuts. I love learning new ones. So making sure you really understand Windows. And then to take that a step further, Microsoft Office. A lot of the communication people do, you're going to get spreadsheets, you're going to get Word documents, and kind of having to manipulate and use those to be able to help solve problems. Software installation. If it stresses you out to know how to install something and putting it in the right place, might not be a good thing. Want to be sure you understand and know what it really means, where it's going, different drives, how much storage space is needed on drives, and things like that. And then we've already kind of hit on communication. So we've got some great resources again. First two are going to be some ReSkill and UAGC courses that we're able to offer through our ReSkill program. The first is the CompTIA A+ class, which can be further turned into a certification, but doesn't really have to be. Kind of something to keep in mind as you guys are looking for jobs. In my past, I know some repair tech jobs have required that A+ certification, kind of for safety, making sure, if you're working on taking things apart and putting them back together and like serious equipment, that you don't hurt yourself. But that's one that we're able to offer for free if any of this sounds interesting to you. And then if you're more interested in the networking side, we also have a networking class. And for those who may not be familiar, these UAGC courses are all online. I think you get about 90 days to complete them, but we've already had people complete, and we haven't been doing this for 90 days, so it doesn't have to take that long, depending on how much time you have. They are completely self-paced, so you don't have to wait around or get bored if you finish something beforehand. And But those are two great ones on our list that we know we're offering if you're interested in these career paths. And then a couple of other things. There's a Cybrary. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's kind of a weird one. They have a great systems administrator course that goes into detail about a lot of these things. And then Google, hello, they're pretty credible, right, gang? They have an IT support certificate on Coursera. I know some of the questions that we got as you guys were registering were, how do I show credibility when I'm applying for these jobs if I don't have the work experience or if I don't have the degree? So all of these resources that we're giving you, these are things you can complete and finish and put that you've earned this certificate, put that you've earned this LinkedIn badge, put that you've completed this UAGC course and have a certificate of completion. Those are easy ways, and they're going to have the right keywords, right? The CompTIA plus the networking, Google IT support. Those are going to be things that when a hiring manager or recruiter looks at it, they know what skills you have based on you adding those to your resume. Katie, any questions? Ashley, anything else to add?
You know,
Yeah.
one thing just to maybe kind of piggyback off of that comment is, you know, I think employers, and even myself as an IT recruiter, I was always much more impressed to see the, you know, ability to self-learn. You know, if they coded a web page for their friend who has a restaurant for fun, just to gain that knowledge. I think we're transitioning away from needing that degree. There's so many great resources and technical training avenues just to click away, because we're in the age of the Google, the internet. So I think just focusing on, you know, some type of project that you can highlight on a resume or speak to in an interview, I think is what really stands out to me when I'm looking at a resume for a position.
We do have a question, and I don't know if we know the answer, but it's one of the course requirements for the CompTIA class is to have the computer that you can take apart. Are there any recommendations on where to find one or what to look for? Laptop or desktop? How old or new should it be?
So Matt, I may actually, you know, this is somewhat of a pilot, guys. You know, we have only been doing this 30 days. So I believe that even though it does show that it's a requirement, I don't think it's a must have. It's more of a nice to have to be able to learn. Matt, do you recall, is there a specific assignment that requires it, or just on the kind of curriculum breakdown?
It was just on the curriculum under the syllabus. It had some course requirements, additional requirements listed.
Well, perfect. And Marie, our director of operations, is backing me up that is correct, that it's not required. Laptop.
I believe, just for kind of added details, I believe that there's a particular module where you have the option to take one apart and like look at the inner workings. So I don't believe needs, if you do find one, it can be one, I believe, that's completely broken, if that's helpful. So you may have one sitting around somewhere.
Or you know what I was thinking was like Goodwill or one of those places may have something that you could kind of work and not have to go out and spend a whole lot of money on, because I would not want to do that just to take it apart. All right, anything else? We ready to keep rolling?
Let's roll.
All right, we're almost there, guys. All right, so next up, and it looks like we got a little bit of the words running off. Sorry about that, guys. But next to talk about is our data analyst. If you are a data nerd, this is for you. People who think in numbers, who count things, if you are a number nerd all of the time. There's a lot of different kind of layers and levels of data analytics positions too, all the way from data entry to data analyst or specialist to data scientist and some crazy cool machine learning and creating some probability models and things like that. So if you're looking up job postings, don't get overwhelmed. Some of them get crazy, some of them are not so crazy. So if you like the crazy, you can work up into it. But what a data analyst would do is, like I said, work with data. You've got to go get it. You got to gather it. One thing that I don't think we think about a lot of times is the verification. Is this actually what it's supposed to be? Is this what I'm telling people I'm reporting on? You know, sometimes I think we all wish that we could verify better with the weatherman, for example. I don't know if we can really verify him any better than he can. But I think about that as a funny example, because when you're giving numbers to a boss, just because your report said that was the right number, it may not really be. You want to make sure you verify. Cleansing data is a big thing. I have a funny story about this one. So I worked for a retailer before, and we sent out kind of mail flyers, you know, like, we're having a special event in the store, come on by. And we did that based on our database of customers, right? Well, we got our customer databases sometimes from our employees putting customer information in. So one time, instead of maybe putting Kelly Page's name, they just put blah, blah as the customer name, but put the address. So guess what Kelly saw when she opened up her mailbox? It said to blah, blah on it. So data cleansing, data verification is important. You don't want to send something blah, blah to an important person. Yeah, thanks, Michael. That's a good idea. Moneyball, which is new on Netflix right now, if you guys have Netflix, is a cool movie on how data is used in baseball. One of the new things to come out of a lot of this data is data visualizations, right? People are, I think, starting to get tired of spreadsheets, and they like pictures and graphs now. So not just, yeah, Ashley's a fan. So not just looking at tables and rows and columns of numbers and data, but turn it into something pretty that I can kind of quickly look at and see which is the majority, which is the minority. But taking that a step further, and now that I see this graph, how do I turn that into something I can use for my business? Okay, so you're telling me that this particular product is my best seller, but I don't have high inventory levels of it in my highest trafficked locations. Let's go order some more and put it into the right stores to increase sales. What else? A/B testing is something a lot of times data analysts do. So for example, email blasts. Sometimes they'll send half of the emails with one subject line and half of them with another subject line, and see which one is opened more or which one is clicked more, which one's more enticing to the audience. And especially today, Google Analytics, a lot of web analytics and demographics data is everywhere. People, almost any email you guys probably get is probably being tracked, and people can do some cool Google Analytics on it to find out, or website that you go to find out what device you're on, what location you're in, how many times you visited the website. So people want to use that data and do something with it. So I'm checking my time. We'll get through these kind of quick. Things that you may enjoy. Of course, being a data nerd, I mentioned the sports statistics. If you geeked out when you watched Moneyball and really related to those characters, if you geek out over your monthly budget and you go in and adjust it and keep that monthly budget for your house, you may be a good data analyst. Y'all are gonna make fun of me. I kind of count random things. If I'm in a car, sometimes I'll just count the number of cars in the parking lot. Somebody's nodding their head. I'm not alone. Okay, if you just kind of count things to see how many there are, ceiling tiles or fan blades or whatever, you're kind of a numbers-minded person. Are patterns. If you find patterns, ooh, there's one white car and one black car, and that happens in 4 iterations. That's kind of a cool thing. Double, triple checking, like we were saying before, want to make sure your data is actually accurate before we report on it. If you're one of those people who doesn't really believe something off the cuff and you have to go and actually look it up and prove it and find the numbers to verify, then you may be a good data analyst. Got to dig in and really see what the numbers say. Or if you're a person who is kind of a few steps ahead and always sees that bigger picture. Where are we going to go with this next? What is the pattern? What is the path? How are we going to use this later? All right, so other titles that you may see if you're looking for a data analyst position out there on Indeed or something. SQL analyst, kind of a business analyst. Sometimes those are more communication based, but I wanted to throw that in here too. Data specialist, a lot of titles with data, SQL or data, things like that. So skills to know, the big one is understanding tables and spreadsheets, right, guys? So if you've ever been in Excel or Access, which is Microsoft's database, those would definitely be where I would start. We've got a link to some great training. Microsoft has some cool video Excel training. Yeah, Ashley 100% agrees on the Excel. If you like making macros in there, kind of play around with some of that cool stuff. And then to take that a step further, we've got SQL, our structured query language we talked about earlier, right? When you get into larger companies, usually there's more data there than Excel can allow. So that's why they go to these big database systems, and SQL is the way that you would access your data in these larger database systems. Python, I saw some people mention Python today and in the sign up sheet. That's a great data analyst. It's more of a programming language, helps with the power of large data sets. You can write scripts to kind of go in and automate a lot of things if you know you're going to need this report every week, every month or something. In general, math and statistics are great. There's some cool Harvard, I think I saw online offered for free, y'all, some like statistics classes. So if you're really into some of that stuff, that was all available online. And then Tableau and Power BI, you may have heard of some of those. Those are great data visualization tools. So like we've been saying, taking these numbers, turning them into something pretty to look at and actually visualize. All right, so resources here. Great UAGC class that we're offering through ReSkill again. This one, it makes sense. It's called database development. Starts off with an understanding of what a database is, why we would use it, how it's structured, and then we get into some of the querying languages. There's this Excel training I was talking about. And then Code Academy, we've already mentioned. Their SQL training is great. And Data Camp is another free training website that is strictly on data analyst, data scientist, statistics languages, a lot of those that we've mentioned here. All right, questions, additions. One left, we can do it. All right, last one. Y'all, this is the one everybody wants to do. So many people are super interested in cybersecurity, and I'll be honest, I have the least amount of experience with cyber. I'll still tell you what I know though. Cyber is becoming, I think, so much more popular right now because we probably, a lot of us have a relatable story. We've been hacked and we understand the need and the need for privacy laws and all these the new privacy stuff coming about, you know, having access to your own data, knowing what companies have on you and knowing how they protect it. So if you want to help them protect it, you may really enjoy a cyber job. What do these guys do? Everything. They have to monitor everything. It's not just one thing. It's the computer network. If somebody hacked into your network, y'all, they would get everything. So definitely got to keep the network locked down. Your websites have to be secure. If they're not, somebody can go out to a website and type in some information and pull back customer data. You don't want them doing that on your banking website, right? Or on Amazon, heaven forbid. Other applications, maybe internal to a company, all of the servers. Maybe somebody could get into a server and bring the whole thing down. And then once again, kind of like the network being down, not a lot of things are running. And then the data, so protecting databases. A lot of times the cyber jobs are kind of broken up and people have a specialty. Maybe they focus on one of those areas, so you don't necessarily have to know all of them. They deal with a lot of software. There's a lot of really cool cyber software that runs reports and does scans. So a lot of different tools out there running different tests. Maybe developing processes and standards for the company to make sure that the other IT people in the company are following the rules that you need them to keep everybody safe. And y'all, that's kind of the hard part about cyber. Where I came from, sometimes they were known as the no guys because they like to tell us no because something wasn't secure enough for us to do it. But they were good about helping us come up with a way that we could all say yes. So not just being the no guy, but coming up with a way, maybe a more creative and secure way to do it. So how do you know if this may be a career for you? Are you a rule follower? Are you a person who does things the way that they're supposed to be done? And maybe you call out other people if they don't do things the way that they're supposed to be done. Again, details, super important, because every piece of code, every firewall, every little thing has to make sure there's no little small holes for bad guys to get in. Speaking of bad guys, like I said, you're kind of the no guy sometimes. So if you're okay being the guy who says no, or girl who says no, if you can't really handle that, it might not work for you, but because a lot of times you do have to say no in security. If you like a lot of different areas of IT, again, we kind of talked about security is everywhere. If you like trying to break things, secretly, I think these guys try to break things and then not let the other IT people know that you tried to do it on purpose. Once again, security is 24/7, kind of like operations, right? I think especially some of the worst offenses probably happen when your guard is down. So those times when everybody's guard is down, day or night, you never know when you may need to work. Continually learning new software. I feel like, if any of you guys subscribe to the kind of some of the cyber threats and things that are coming out, guys, almost every day, I think somebody finds a new way to hack into something. So you can't stop learning. If you are always interested in what's new and how to keep learning, you'd probably enjoy cybersecurity. And then if you like to help people keep everything safe and protected, if you're kind of the protector type, like to put that shield over things and make sure it's all working like it's supposed to and safe, then cyber or information security, also called IT security, information security, may be a good fit for you. So some things to know. Once again, we're covering the gambit, guys. Whatever operating system, Windows and Linux primarily, not as much Mac stuff in a lot of these worlds, but still a little bit of that as well. Python and other scripting languages, a lot of the processes and reports that are out there checking things are scripted because there's so much that you have to look at. Firewalls, very important to understand and kind of put up that first line of defense. I know about this one, the OWASP Top 10. I don't know what OWASP stands for, but it is a group that comes out with the list of the top 10 web vulnerabilities. So these are the top things that are most likely and have occurred out there on websites that you as an IT person need to protect from. So our cyber team, where I came from, educated all of the developers on how to not write code that creates those vulnerabilities. And then in the security world, there are a lot of certifications. Don't feel like you have to have these, but just wanted to make sure you guys saw what they were. And if you were interested, can kind of look up a little bit more about them. There's the Security Plus or the CISSP certification. A lot of companies don't require those. Once again, don't feel like it's a thing you have to have, but if you ever see that is a requirement, you can kind of look that up a little bit more and see what's involved. All right, so finally, some great resources. Again, a couple of great classes and kind of two choices here for you for some of our ReSkill and UAGC courses. We've got specifically PC security, protecting PCs and some of the personal hardware. We've got another course on networking, which we talked about, and that one's going to cover some security as well. SANS is a wonderful company that we used to send very experienced security people to. They have some free online courses. I got so excited. I kept finding free training last night, guys. I wanted to put it all into here for you. And then Cybrary obviously has to have a cybersecurity class, right? Based on their name. So they have a great intro course as well to check out if you're interested. And all this stuff is really self-paced. I think some of them kind of had start dates, so they may be a little bit more structured, but all online and available for you when you have time. Okay, it's right at like 3:30. I feel like I talked forever. Katie, any questions? Anybody else? Any other questions you have? Or Ashley, anything to add?
We do have some questions. Someone asked, I live in a very rural area and the only internet I have is a mobile hotspot. Will I be able to access the classes?
Ashley, do you have insight on that one?
So I guess it would, mobile hotspot, as long as it is tied to an actual desktop or laptop computer, you should have enough bandwidth. I don't know that 100%, but I would, recommend still registering. And if there is an issue, we'll see what additional resources or how we can help resolve.
I don't know if any libraries have the ability to check out computers or anything like that. That may be something to look into. I know, especially hello 2020 and COVID, everything's weird right now. But that may be something to look into if all else fails.
And I'm not sure how close that person is to like a university, but a lot of them have set up Wi-Fi hotspots in parking lots, so that you can actually sit in your car and be socially distanced from others, but still have access to a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, good call. Or maybe even Starbucks. Can you do that in like the Starbucks parking lot or the Starbucks?
I think so, depending on how close you can park. Yeah.
Rural Arkansas doesn't have Starbucks.
I was waiting for Katie to jump in.
Yeah. I gotta speak up for the rural folks.
You're right. I never had one of those growing up in South Mississippi either. I've gotten spoiled, I guess.
And then we do have some of the questions that folks did submit prior to the presentation. I don't know if we want to go through those just because time purposes, but if we don't address them right now, we will send you an email with those responses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of the questions were kind of about courses and being the cost of them. So I'll reiterate these UAGC and ReSkill courses that we've sent a lot of you, if not all of you guys already. Those are completely free. You may get an email that talks about payment or your payment hasn't been completed yet. All that means is one of our people goes and clicks a button, and then in about 24 hours, you are good to go. So if you see that, don't freak out. If you see it and it hasn't gone away and you still can't get in, contact us, call or email, and we'll figure it out for you. Trying to see what else we have. I think those were the majority of questions. So I know I talked a lot. We really kind of wanted to get deep into some of these. I saw a lot of head nods, so that made me feel good that we were kind of relating and talking about some things that maybe we've had questions about or you guys are interested in. But we're going to kind of continue to host these, I think, about once a week through the end of the year. And if you guys are interested in other topics, please let us know. We'll see what else is relevant and interesting to you and what we can put together. Once again, this will be sent out for you to kind of give you some cheat sheets with the hyperlinks. So check your email today or tomorrow and then give us a shout if you need anything else. Hope you enjoyed and learned something.